Mixon out of the backfield. Has some daylight. Hurdles to the end zone. In for the score, and he took a lick from Miles Jack, but he hung on.
Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and today is going to be the game plan, and it's going to be a pre-game edition of it. So for you guys that may not be familiar with this is something new that I started last week against the Ravens, and I switched up the format just a little bit because obviously with the game coming up, I wanted to discuss this, and I feel like it could be two birds in one stone. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the Colts offense. We have to start there. So we're going to talk about their passing offense, and then we're also going to talk about the rushing offense. Then we'll flip sides of the ball, and we'll talk about the defense, and I'll talk about what the Bengals can and should do in order to come out of here with a win. So what's up to everybody in the chat? My man Seismic Sterum is first, Drew Rozier as well. Just so you guys know, I'm also going to be streaming the game today. So obviously I cannot show the actual game, but I will be offering my commentary. We're going to switch it up. If you guys have been following me since the draft, probably going to be something similar to that. So we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. But without further ado, we will get into this review. So the Colts passing offense, right now, they're mostly passing on the short right. They have 57 attempts there. They have 70% completion percentage, and they're averaging 6 yards per attempt. That's the highest pass success rate that they have in that direction is for their tight ends. They're able to have success with 60% there for their tight ends and only 54% for their wide receivers. Then when you look at the other direction that they're looking at, you're going with the short left, and that's going to be 56 attempts that they've had this season, 68% completion percentage, and they're averaging 7 yards an attempt there. And then you got the short middle where they have 30 attempts and they've completed 73% of those passes. The deep pass really just hasn't been good. And if you listen to my preview that I had with Mr. Bowen, we kind of talked about the fact that, or he talked about the fact that Phillip Rivers just doesn't have it when it comes to those passes. And so they've only completed 36% of those passes, and they've only had 11 attempts there. And then they've had most of their success if they do go deep to the middle. And that's been a 62.5% completion rate. And usually they've mostly targeted tight ends on that. If they do pass on first down, it's likely going to be to the short and the right. And they've had 150 yards on that. And the short left, they've had 124 yards. And on second down, they usually go to the short right. But they've also picked up some yardage of 120 or 107 yards through the middle. So those are some key things there. And even on third down, like this is a team, they also still go short. Now, when you talk about who they are targeting within this offense, the stats behind this say that they usually go to T.Y. Hilton. He's leading in targets. But then the most interesting thing is that Nyheim Hines, a running back, is their second most targeted guy on the team. So before any other receivers, before any tight ends or anything like that, it's Nyheim Hines. So whenever he's in the game, that's a key indicator that he's probably in there to catch the ball. Last week, due to injuries, they were able to get Trey Burton, their tight end, going, and he actually caught 6 of 7 targets. So that's another guy that the Bengals have to watch out today from that side of the ball. And then Zach Pascal is another wide receiver that they like to target, and he's got 21 total targets on the season, but he's only hauled in 57% of them. And so he receives a lot of targets, but he isn't really pulling them in, and he's also received a lot in the red zone. So the Bengals have to be ready for that. And then also Jonathan Taylor, a lot of people have talked about him in the running game, but he's also been effective in the passing game where he's caught 13 catches on 15 targets. The other guy who's probably been their biggest tight end, a lot of people talk about Trey Burton, and they also talk about the other tight end that they have there. But the guy that's really been a sleeper has really been Mo Alley-Cox, and he may be their best tight end, and he's had the most success when it comes to the red zone because he's got 2 touchdowns already on this season. So if you see Mo Alley-Cox in there in the red zone, the Bengals definitely have to be on the lookout for that. And then they've also had a higher pass success when they target their running backs. So the Bengals are going to have to make sure that they keep an eye on these running backs and that they keep an eye on these tight ends because they can do things in that area. When you talk about the offensive line, they've been extremely efficient when it comes to pass protection of Phillip Rivers. They've only given up 5 sacks this season. I know that the Bengals would love to potentially get a sack, but it's going to be a tall task. Now, it seems like someone in the chat says that Mo Alley is out. So if he is out, that's going to be big for the Bengals because he has been very efficient for them from a offensive standpoint. And so most of the offense that they run is mostly out of the shotgun formation, but they do have some under center a lot more than some of the previous teams that the Bengals have gone against. So I think the keys in order to limit this passing offense is that the good thing going for the Bengals is their defense is only allowed a 61% completion rate on passes to the short right, and they rarely give up the deep pass. So I think if they play that right, that should definitely throw, I think, the Colts off if they're able to stop them on the short right pass on first and second down. And then I think that they should force them into third and longs and protect the deep middle. So just make sure if you have Bates there or you have those linebackers there, protect that area. And then, of course, you got to focus on T.Y. Hilton, Nyheim Hines, Trey Burton. And I think someone said Mo Alley is out of the game. So just be sure to focus on those guys and force Phillip Rivers to depend on Zach Pascal, Fontaine, I think that's how you say his name, and Johnson. And even though this offensive line has been pretty much keeping Phillip Rivers upright, he's actually had less time to throw than Burrow with 2.5 seconds. And he's mostly only going short, but he has been highly aggressive on those short passes. The only thing is he hasn't had to pass much, but he's been a mixed bags in terms of turnovers, but he also has been good with his completion. So the Bengals have to get to Rivers, which is a tall task. If they can't get him down, they at least have to disrupt him, and they have to control those boundaries on those completions. And they also have to tackle and make sure that they get those receivers down or those running backs down on that first opportunity to tackle. So I think that that's what you look at from the passing offense. Now, let's talk about the Colts running offense. The Colts, for the most part, run behind their center in terms of the direction. That's where they like to go. So you're looking at, on the flip side for us, especially with DJ Reader out, those inside defensive tackles, that's where they like to run. And after that, you talk about the other position that they like to run to is the left end and the left guard. They're averaging 4 yards per carry there, and they rarely run to the right end. And they rarely run to the left tackle, off tackle, and they don't run off the tackles really between the left and the right. Or the right guard. And they have most of their success yardage-wise running to the right end. They're averaging 5.71 yards per carry. And they've run mostly on first and second down. And they rarely run on third down. And if it is, then they usually run to the center, which is generally where they like to run, period. So one thing that they have to watch out is for that defensive interior, and those linebackers have to be prepared for that. More than likely, that's where they like to run. So we have to be ready for that. And then they also have a lot of holding penalties. So the Bengals defensive line has to watch out for that. So this is a group that will try to hold. I would think that since they have so many, it may be that they're trying to get away with something. And then that means, you don't know which ones that they aren't calling. So Bengals are going to have to try to get off of those blocks as fast as possible. And the other thing is they run out of both under center as well as the shotgun. But most of their rushing yardage is on first downs, and they have 335 rushing yards on that. So Jonathan Taylor obviously is the guy for them. You talk about the other 3 running backs they have. They have Wilkins and Nyheim Hines. Those guys really don't get it as much. Wilkins comes in rarely, I think, as a short yardage guy. But that's the guy that you have to key in on is Jonathan Taylor. You got to shut him down, and you got to take him out of this game. That's what the Browns did last week. When they were able to get up on them early, it just really took him out of the game. They were only able to run the ball, I believe, a total of 18 times or something like that. And that's not even just with just Taylor. That was just like the entire running back room. So that's something that the Bengals have to do. And although the pass blocking has been elite, their run blocking isn't really that good. And it's pretty bad. And it's actually, I believe, in the bottom 10 of the league. So that's something that they can do there. But the keys are to stop the run up the middle on first and second down. You have to eliminate that. You have to try to get that out of here immediately. And so with that said, we will switch it to the defense. So obviously the Bengals offense did not have a great showing. This is another defense that is a major defense, right? It's the second highest one in the league, depending on which site that you go to. Sometimes it might be the first. But the first thing that you need to know about them, which everyone should know, is that they rarely blitz. And when they do give up most of their points, which they haven't that much this season, but if they do, they've given them up in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, and they give up most of their completions, ironically, on the short right, where the Bengals actually have completed 75% of their passes. So the Bengals have to be able to take advantage of that. And then the Colts have allowed 347 yards and a 69% completion in that area. So if the Bengals can take advantage of that, that may be an area that they target. And this is where the Browns attacked them heavily last week. I think they had at least 100 yards just off of that direction. Short middle is also vulnerable for them, where they are allowing 71% of completions on 25 completions. So that's another area that you may want to strike this defense in terms of the passing game. And then most people have really passed on them on second down to the short and right and have had success. And if you want to go deep on them, you have a better chance of doing it on the deep middle on second down. Deep left is not where it's at. 30% on completions there. So if you go deep left, if you do want to take that chance, then you have to do it on third down. That's the only place where someone has had some success against them. And a big part of why this defense has been so good is actually because of their run defense. Outside of runs to the right tackle, they're averaging only giving up 3 yards per carry, 3. So if the Bengals want Mixon to be involved, they're gonna have to try to confuse them and not be predictable in the run game, because if you're running on first down, that's just not gonna do it for them. And if they want some success, they need to run behind the right tackle, which is Bobby Hart, and run plays right at Autry, the defensive end there. If they don't do that, it's gonna be a tough day for them. And the only issue is the Bengals rarely run in that direction, but they're going to have to do that. And Cleveland had most of its success running right at the right guard. So maybe if they don't ride and run to Bobby Hart, maybe they can try to run at that right guard position, which of course we all know is a weakness because Alex Redmond just got back. But if there is an opening, that's where it is in terms of that. I probably wouldn't run on them on first down regularly. Like, I think that this is a team that you have to mix it up with the pass and the run on first down. Try to throw them off some kind of way. And I think on second down runs, you got to go to the left and have some success there. And maybe even on a third down, you try to run some draws or something like that to really throw them up. But they've given most of the yardage out on this defense has come out from the shotgun formation, which is what the Bengals like to run a lot of. And it's a solid defense, but you also have to remember they've played a lot of bad offenses, but they still rank number 1 against the pass and number 4 against the run. But honestly, when I look at it from that standpoint, the biggest thing that really pops out is their run defense. And they went against that Cleveland offense last week, and they shut it down. That running attack that was pretty much the number 1 or is the number 1 running attack in the league. They didn't, surrender too much to that. So Joe Mixon has got to be used in this game. And they don't get many sacks. So Joe Burrow should have some time to pass. And I say should, we'll have to see. But I think the keys to this is attack the linebackers in coverage. And when I say linebackers, I really mean Okereke. He's the guy that's the weak link there. The other linebacker that they have there is actually pretty solid in coverage. But you have to attack him. And then you also have to get T. Higgins and Boyd some opportunities in this game. Green is probably going to have the tough draw against Xavier Rhodes. But if you want him to be effective and get off of Xavier Rhodes, you have to move him around, get him some slants and stuff early, get him onto some other mismatches, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a safety, whether it's another corner not named Xavier Rhodes. You have to do that and get him involved early so that they know that he's going to be somewhat of a threat there. And then you also have to get Mixon runs on second down and don't abandon the run. Even though it may be hard, there are some opportunities where you should run it, but you have to make sure that you're consistent with that, and you have to get Mixon to the second level. If he can get to the second level against those linebackers, he can have some success against them. It's just about getting past those big D tackles that they have there. They have some stud tackles right there when you talk about that. And you got to get past Buckner. You got to get past him. So if they can get past Buckner, then they can get into the second level of this defense and they can have some success, but that's where they have to do it. And then also you have to get some passes to mix in on the short right, like whether that's a screen pass, whether that's in the flats, you have to get them involved in this game because I think that that's key. We also talk about John Ross being in this game. This is another guy that you need to use in this game. You got to use him as a gadget player on short passes to the right. If you can set that up, you can have success against this defense. That may be a dimension that they've never seen. That may be something that will cause Xavier Rose to shift. That may be something that can get Rocky Sin exposed and some of their other corners exposed. But that's what you got to do. Outside of that, keep Burrow clean and don't turn the ball over. I think that's definitely a key to this game. And in terms of the defense, from a pass defense perspective on the Bengals side, they have to make sure that they force Phillip Rivers to throw some turnovers. He's got 5 interceptions on the season. That's something that they have to do. And if we can do that, we can win this game. But if we come out slow, if we don't establish the run, if we don't mix up the run and the pass on first and second down and it's predictable, this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. And with Rivers having one of his worst games, his starting position may be on the line, but you have to force Phillip Rivers to hand you this game, and that's what you have to do to come out with a victory. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm going to do a quick look here and see if we have any of the inactives or actives released for this game. So bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to take a look. But appreciate you guys for the love. I'm also going to be doing the Flick Chat. We're going to go live in the Flick Chat at 1. And I'll also be streaming here. So you can catch me on both of them. But if you want to see what my direct comments are in the Flick Chat, please be sure to download the Flick Chat. You also can download that and be entered to win an Xbox Series S. So please be sure to check that out. And then if you're following me on Twitter, it has the full instructions for what you have to do to be entered in that. But not only there, we're also doing some cool live game day stuff. If you want to chat with other Bengals fans, I think there's about 160 of them in there. We're trying to get to about 500, but it's really been a cool place that we all come together, just kind of like the chat here and talk. Josh Holland says Flick Chat is great. Try it out, guys. And like I said, it's not just because I do business with them. It's a cool app. Like, I honestly, before I look into any deal or anything that I get, I always check it out myself. And I'm like a sports head. And Flick Chat is definitely dope. And let's hope that, like Jawan is saying, that AJ has a comeback game. Let's get him involved earlier. I don't know if you guys saw TJ Houshmandzadeh, but he talked about the fact that AJ deserves the respect that he gets, and he also deserves to be frustrated and command getting some of those plays early so that he can be involved in this offense. And I think the two guys that you need involved in this offense early and often are Joe Mixon and AJ Green. And I know that we have some cool shiny new toys in Tyler Boyd. We know what Tyler Boyd is going to bring us. He definitely has to be a part of the game plan as well as T. Higgins. But you got to get those first two guys going first, because other teams are going to want those guys to be taken out of the game so that we have to rely on some of our other weapons. And once you get to a point where if Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins, is not having a good game because Joe is getting pressured and stuff like that, it really makes this offense easy to shut down. So I think that we have to get these guys involved early and often, at least make them have some sort of honesty when it comes to them. And I think you got to throw John Ross out there. Although John Ross may be in the doghouse with this coaching staff, every defense is still going to look at him anytime that he's on the field. That may be an opportunity for them to pull a double off of AJ. We've seen AJ still is getting double coverage as well as the number one corner on him. That may make them switch it up. And they're vulnerable at one of their safety positions. So that would be something that I would do. And if you're going to use him, I'm not saying that John Ross is going to just explode this game, but just get him in those areas in space and do something, and do it with Mixon too. Like, you got to start to utilize these guys. Drew Sample is just a guy that it seems, and this is no shot against him or anything, he's not really a guy that you can depend on that much. And even once he makes a pass, he's really not going to move anywhere or move the chains. So certain things are going to happen. A big piece of news that my man Delta Kilo 101, aka the coach who broke down some of that Carlos Dunlap film with me, is saying that it looks like Darius Leonard is actually inactive for this game. That's going to be huge. The only thing, though, is Darius Leonard, even though to me he's probably the best linebacker in the NFL right now, I mean, that's debatable. You might have some other people that may say Devin White. You may have some other guys out there. Some people may still feel like Bobby Wagner, that is. And I think that Darius Leonard is one of the best linebackers in the game. But when I had Kevin Bowen on, he actually spoke about Leonard not looking like himself. So maybe that's due to injury. And I think that one thing that they're doing to to work this game as a precaution is to probably sit him out this game. And I believe he said the Colts have a bye next week. So he's probably out, but that's still huge. I mean, this Colts defense he's the leader of that defense when you talk about it. They have also got Rondale Carter is out. It looks like Jacob Eason, young quarterback. It looks like Fontaine is out, which I kind of saw that coming. So if Fontaine is out, they actually need to concentrate on the other receiver over there. I believe his name is Johnson or something like that. I might have the name wrong. Let me double check real quick. Check my notes here. Yeah, Johnson. So I knew Johnson would be the guy because Johnson had a pretty good game for them last week. So Zach Pascal and Johnson are the guys that you got to worry about. Mo Alley Cox, thank God, he's not playing in this game because he was doing some things, but that may mean that we really have to concentrate on Trey Burton. That's going to be a guy for them. And I think the Bengals actually have done pretty solid against tight ends with the exception of Mark Andrews last week. But it's Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is going to do that against any defense. Surprisingly, he didn't do it against Kansas City, but that honestly was a surprise. So we'll see what happens here. Let's see. Looks like Mackenzie Alexander is playing. It looks like hopefully we'll see Darius Phillips bump back to the outside. And obviously it seems that John Ross is going to be good to go. So here's the inactives. So the inactives for us are Austin Seibert, the kicker, which I don't know why we just don't cut him. I don't know why we're keeping two kickers. Auden Tate, Trevion Williams, Marcus Bailey, and Keaton Sutherland. So seems like everybody else should be good to go. So hopefully we can get out here and come out with a win. But I will see you guys back. I'll probably start the live probably around 1 o'clock. I think they kick off about 1:10. So stay tuned for that. Keep your notifications on. Come and vibe with me here, but also remember Flick Chat is where I'm also at as well. And don't forget that we're doing all of these cool things in terms of giveaways. We're still giving away the Xbox Series S. So be sure to check out my Twitter at New Stripe City for that. We're still going to be bringing you guys film breakdowns and stuff like that as well. So yeah, stay tuned. We got some more content coming. And as usual, we will leave you with a who day all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.
He gave his rookie-laden Bengals a high mark as they passed from the kindergarten of preseason to the first grade of regular league play.
Cincinnati's best came in the first quarter, the first time they had the ball. Quarterback Dewey Warren and fullback Tom Smiley combined for Cincinnati's first pass completion.
Bengal founder Paul Brown fashioned this novel design. As new to the game today as the forward pass was a century ago.
Montana dragged down at the 31-yard line.
In 1996, the Bengals finished strong and finished right.
Touchdown! Yes!
Tell you what, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. We got to bow to Corey Dillon.
Bulldog from the 32 with Mixon in the backfield. It's Dalton out to Mixon. He's got some room.
It's Mixon diving up and
We're gonna hammer home competition, preparation, and diligence in everything we do.
It's a new year, same old question. How do you stop 85?
They're looking down the field for the home run ball. It's full. And in a day, touchdown!
Hooray! 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 Take it on the beat, Bengals!